Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, we are discussing Wicked by Jennifer L. Armentrout. We are also going to give our thoughts on the Passion Flix movie adaptation. Stay tuned. Today's episode is sponsored by The Black Kids, written by Christina Hammonds Reed. It's the Mocha Girls Read National Book Club's July Book of the Month. Visit their website and join in today. This coming-of-age debut novel explores issues of race, class, and violence through the eyes of a wealthy Black teenager whose family gets caught in the vortex of the 1992 Rodney King riots. Ashley Bennett and her friends are living the charmed life. It's the end of senior year. Everything changes one afternoon in April when 4 LAPD officers are acquitted after beating a Black man named Rodney King half to death. Suddenly, Ashley's just not one of the girls. She's one of the Black kids. As violent protests engulf LA and the city burns, Ashley tries to continue on as life were normal. With her world splintering around her, Ashley, along with the rest of LA, is left to question who is the us and who is the them. The Black Kids is available now. Pick up your copy wherever books and audiobooks are sold. Visit mochagirlsread.com to learn more about the book club and to read along with them. The links are in the show notes. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. I hope to hear your thoughts on today's topic. You can always find me and Casey on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including after shows and more. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back, everybody. Joining me is feature co-host Casey from Heartful of Ink. Welcome back, Casey.
Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here today.
Me too. Because this is super fun for me because, yeah, we have not done one of these since, Bridgerton we did, but we watched the whole season. But this was a movie, so it was a much shorter endeavor. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I would like to do is first we're going to talk about the book Wicked, which is by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It was published in December 2014, so that was a while ago. It was actually a Goodreads Choice Award nominee in 2015. My book club read it in 2015. So full disclosure, that is when I read it, was 2015. Casey, on the other hand, read it now.
Yesterday. Yesterday. I literally finished it 12 hours ago. So, and then I watched the movie.
Okay, so why don't you give us the synopsis before we start?
All right. Things are about to get wicked in New Orleans. 22-year-old Ivy Morgan isn't your average college student. She and others like her know humans aren't the only thing trolling the French Quarter for fun and for food. Her duty to the order is her life. After all, 4 years ago, she lost everything at the hands of the creature she'd sworn to hunt, tearing her world and her heart apart. Ren Owens is the last person Ivy expected to enter her rigidly controlled life. He's 6 feet and 3 inches of temptation and swoon-inducing charm. With forest green eyes and a smile that surely left a stream of broken hearts in its wake, he has an uncanny, almost unnatural ability to make her yearn for everything he has to offer. But letting him in is as dangerous as hunting the cold-blooded killer stalking the streets. Losing the boy she loved once before had nearly destroyed her. The sparking tension that grows between them becomes impossible for Ivy to deny. Deep down, she needs more than what her duty demands of her, what her past has shaped for her. But as Ivy grows closer to Ren, she realizes she's not the only one carrying secrets that could shatter the frail bond between them. There's something he's not telling her, and the one thing is for certain. She's no longer sure what is more dangerous to her, the ancient beings threatening to take over the town, or the man demanding to lay claim to her heart and soul. Did I do that justice?
You did. You were reading it with all the feelings.
All
Like,
of the feelings.
yes.
So much angst, so much drama.
There was a lot of angst. And so you guys should know, a lot of people tag this as new adult. And they are adult. They're young. Yeah, they're young.
They're 22, 23.
Yeah. Yeah, but it definitely had that college-y, angsty vibe. Because I guess technically Ivy is in college. Technically,
yeah.
So, even though we never saw her in college at all, if I can remember, maybe once or twice.
There was one or two scenes of her like in class, and in the book, she was always carrying her backpack that was filled with textbooks around. Like literally had it on her shoulders while she was fighting the Fae. And I was like, how the fuck do you fight a Fae with a backpack full of textbooks on your back? Like,
I don't know. Training, I guess.
Like
I don't know. I feel like it increases your endurance training. I have no idea. Girl, don't give
slower.
I don't know.
It throws off your balance.
I don't know. It's crazy. But, okay, so like I said, you guys, I read this book a long time ago, and I did reread, like, the first 3 chapters only, just so I could kind of jog my memory. And it did that. It jogged my memory. But, I don't remember all the details, so I'm going to rely on Casey.
I got you.
For that. But, I mean, just talking about the book, I remember really liking it. But Casey did not like it, did you?
No. Okay, so it took me a while. I gave it a good try. And the first 20%, I was undecided. I could definitely see, the tropes. I could kind of see Kat from the Cat and Bone series by Janine Frost. She's young, she's in college, she's very angry, she's closed off from everybody. She's this badass hunter. And I was like, okay, I can kind of get behind that. I like Kat. I can maybe do this. And then it went in every wrong direction possible. Just like, dear God, stop with these cliches. And yes, it was written 6-7 years ago when these cliches weren't technically cliches yet.
Yeah.
But, start off with the only character of color in the book is her best friend Val. And Val is also the only gay character. Val is also the only bad guy who betrays everybody at the end. Spoiler alert. Yeah. Val also says, hey, let's have sex because I'm gay and you're my best friend. And I'm like, that's not how gay works. Please stop. Like, this is not... She's also slut-shamed beyond anything any person should ever have to put up with.
Yeah.
And this whole order is like super 1950s sexist. So I'm surprised that they even let a person of color into their special elite order place thing. Well, no, he's the super elite. They're just like the
they're regular fighters. Like
they're regular fighters.
They're like the army, and he's like the Marines or whatever. Like he's a level up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly. So.
Oh. Yay! We have racism and homophobia and biphobia and just all the joy.
Yeah, and that did just suck the life right out of me just now because, I mean, honestly, okay, so I don't even remember having these issues when I first read it. I don't. Like, I just thought it was fun, honestly. I didn't think it was
absolutely. It's trashy fun.
I didn't think, like, and again, I guess the more you read and as time evolves, and we're dealing with a different world now than we were then. So I don't think...
absolutely.
People were writing as consciously, nor were we reading as consciously then versus now. So I guess in that regard, it doesn't really hold up.
Yeah. And if I had read this in 2015, I didn't know I was bi at the time. So I just would have shrugged off her whole bi vibe. But now I'm just like, you could not pay me to have sex with my best friend. Like, that is just not how gay works. That's just not... Please stop making bi people just the biggest sluts on the planet, because that's not who we are. That's not how this works.
No. And that's been a thing, like in fiction, not only books, but TV. It's like the bi person's always the slut, and it's not true.
Oh, yeah. They're like, oh, you're bi? You want to have sex with your best friend? It's like, no, I do not. Please, no. Like, stay away.
Yeah.
No, I don't want sex with you. That's not how this works.
I know. It's not. It's, like, not to get on a tangent, but it's just like with any relationship. It's like, I feel like any person with any sexuality, as long as you're an adult, you can do what you want. But I also feel like it's like any relationship. If you're in a relationship, you're in a relationship. It doesn't matter who you're with, but relationship rules apply.
Yes.
So just because you dibble and dabble doesn't mean you don't know how to be in a relationship. And that is a big misconception.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, yes.
Yeah.
That's common fucking sense. But apparently, back in 2015, the first sentence Val says is like, I would have sex with you. And Ivy is like, no, I like boys. And I'm just unrolling my eyes so hard I see my brain.
Yeah. And that scene, when I watched, and I forgot about that scene in the book, but when I watched it on screen, I'm like, damn, what the fuck? I'm like, this is, oh my God. I'm like, ouch. She just is like.
Yeah, no. Yeah. No.
That's
you could not pay me enough money to volunteer to have sex with my best friend. Like, no, we're not going there. I don't want it. She doesn't want it. It's not happening. I'm not going to go around and be like, hey, baby, I know you haven't gotten laid in 3 years. Let's go have sex. Like, no, I wouldn't do that with anybody. Because I'm just a normal person.
You would not do that with anybody.
No.
No. Like, just no. It's wild.
Val is like called the slut of Satan and a hussy and just like degraded by everybody.
Yeah, it's not.
Even though she ends up being the bad guy, like, why are you calling her a hussy? Why are you being so mean to the only person of color and the only gay person? Like, it's.
I feel like if they were trying to imply, and gay, bi, straight, whatever, there are people that are just hoes and they like to sleep with everybody. If they were if the author was trying to make her character be that way, she didn't give us enough other things to make us believe that she sleeps with everything that walks. We didn't have enough other things going on for her for me to believe, oh, she's just a hoe. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, like she's going out on hot dates all the time, but
when you're single, you date a lot. That doesn't mean anything.
That doesn't mean jack shit.
Right. So I don't know. It's hard. Yeah, that's definitely not cool.
At least they made David black in the movie. Like,
they did.
I don't think he was black in the book, but yay, a second person of color. Woo! And he has lines. Woo!
He did have lines, and he had as much face time as he did in the book. To be fair, they didn't really cut him down. But I don't remember exactly if David's lines match up 1-to-1 like they did for a lot of the other characters. But when Ivy was trying to tell him, they really just was like, girl, you dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. Like,
Oh, yeah, no, that's how he was in the book. He's
okay,
like,
I really did not like that either. I'm like, come on. Like, okay, you're acting like she's unreliable, right? And if she's supposed to be so important, and if you're supposed to be a fighter and people rely, your team, you're not supposed to just disregard what someone says because you've not heard it before. So that kind of annoyed me as far as like, dang, y'all don't even treat the women fair in this order.
They played that down a little bit in the movie, but it was very anti-woman in the order in the book. I think Trent had this line in the movie too, where he's like, we never should have let women in. And then she knees him in the balls. Yeah. Like nobody thought the women should be in the group. Nobody thought that they were strong enough or, I don't know. Like it was, again, very sexist, very 1950s. And Ivy just put up with it. And, once Ren came along, he's like, that's not how you treat a lady. And I was just like rolling my eyes because I'm like, are you trying to make him seem extra feminist? Because
she needed a counterbalance. That's what she was trying to do, I feel
but
like.
also just like, this is not how life works. Please stop.
Well, nothing in... Okay, so I've read quite a few books by her, to be fair. And none of her books have that realistic balance to them. They're all kind of extra, and no matter what way you're talking about. Like, I read the Lux series by her, and that was another one that I read many, many years ago. But I also remember the guys are always super hot. The girls are always hot. It's always, every character is like the most cartoonist version, the most extreme version. You know what I mean? Like, the nerd is the nerd. The tough guy is a tough guy. The sexy guy is the sexy guy. You know what I'm saying? So there's not a whole lot of finesse with the characters.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and definitely I can tell that the books are like more for, not for younger readers, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Because like they don't have a lot of nuance, technically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And so, to be fair, on the flip side, though, like, oh my God. Okay, so let me just say, I'm reading another series that Casey recommended right now. Yes. I started the Iron King, and I put that off for a long time. It was sitting on my counter, you know, on my bookshelf for a long time. And I'm like, okay, let me just read this. Let me read it. And no lie, guys, it pulled me straight out of my reading funk. It pulled me straight out of it. And I'm reading it, and there were also some things I didn't like about how the girls were being treated. There were other things like that. And I'm like, oh God. So I can feel some of the essence of those similar type of things, but I still had a good time with it. I mean, not like, I'm not like fangirling over it, but I definitely picked up the second book. I didn't see any Black people in sight, but I was entertained, you know? So
yeah.
I feel like just in this realm of publishing, this section, like this decade or whatever, when these books were coming out hard.
Like 2010.
Yeah, like this 2010 section, all of those books kind of had, if it was paranormal romance or urban fantasy with romance or new adult romance, they all kind of had that vibe. Like, even thinking about like some of the series we've read here and talk trash about.
Oh yes.
So would I say don't read it? No, I wouldn't. I would say know what you're getting into, so you don't have this high expectation and then you plummet to the earth, because that's what would happen if you went in expecting this very thought out and smart, you know what I'm saying, type of book. If you're like, this is a beach read that I can read while I'm half drunk and have a good time, you know what I'm saying, that's the type of read this is to me.
Yes, absolutely.
I definitely wouldn't be recommending it for people who don't read this stuff. Yeah, so what else didn't you like? I know you probably got a few more things you didn't like.
I'm actually going to say one thing I did appreciate, just to mix things up a bit. So in the book, there was a lot more sex than they have in the movie, but Ivy actually had a masturbation scene by herself. There were some mutual masturbation scenes, but, you know, she went down on herself at one point. And I was like, you don't see this very often, even in books published today in 2020 and 2021. Like, female pleasure is usually on the back burner. Yeah, when the guy's going down on her, like, it's there, but you're more likely to see a guy jacking off by himself than you are to see a girl fingering herself off. So, you know, kudos to Jennifer for including this, because I was like, yeah, still don't see this today. So,
and again, honestly, she's good with the sexy stuff. Like, every book I've read, like, even if it's not 100% open door, the door might be cracked, right? You'll get a little peek. But, you know, it's not like erotica level or anything like that.
Oh, no. But it's PG-13.
Yeah, it's PG-13. And it's like, it's still sexy. It's like, oh, wow. Okay, I believe they actually are attracted to each other, you know? So she's really good at that. And Yeah, so definitely it's romance. It's cheeseball
And makes me
romance.
feel pleasure. Like,
Yeah.
hey, girl. But yeah, no, that was like the highlight of the book, I guess. Oh, God.
I should go back. You should tell me what pages the sex scenes are so I could just read those.
Just read those. Okay.
I should have told you before you started so you can mark them for me.
Yeah. I'll go back and skim through it because there were a lot. I was very scared when I watched the movie. I was like, oh, God, how many are there going to be? And they cut it down a lot. I think there's only 2 in the movie, whereas there's like 5 in the book or something like that.
Look, okay, so let's talk about this movie a little bit. So when I first, so I did know that they were making this into a movie. Mm-hmm. And I had heard about it a couple years back, and then I just never heard another thing about it. It kind of just faded into the background. And I'm like, well, I guess they never made it, and I forgot about it, and I carried on. But randomly, I was on YouTube, and I was watching this one YouTuber, who I can't remember her name, and she reviewed this movie called Wicked. And I'm listening to her explain the movie. I'm like, that sounds like a book I read, like literally. And then I'm like, oh my God. So I looked it up. I'm like, damn, they made a movie? This is that movie? Because literally she was explaining the plot. I'm like, I've read that before. And I wasn't expecting that to be the adaptation because she was approaching it from a movie watcher point of view.
Yes.
Not a book reader point of view.
Yes.
So when I saw it was out, I'm like, oh my God, I have to ask Casey if she read this book. And it only came out May 27th of this year. So it's a new release.
Oh, wow. So it's very new.
It's very new. And you guys, this is dedication. We got a free trial to watch this bitch. We got a free trial.
Yes. Yes.
It was published or produced on this, service called
Streaming
Passion
service?
Flix. Yes, Passion Flix is the streaming service. And I think you can get it on its own, but I got it through Amazon. You have access to
Amazon
it through
Prime.
Prime Video. So let me just go ahead and tell you. So it was directed by Taryn O'Neill. I feel like her name sounds familiar to me. I don't know how, but it does. The writer is Jennifer L. Armentrout again. And there was someone that helped with the screenplay. And Jennifer L. Armentrout was wise enough to get herself some producer credits on this. So good for her. Good on her for that. Mm-hmm. And I think because she was so heavily involved, this really mirrored the book a lot.
Oh, yes. Like almost scene for scene, dialogue for dialogue. Like 90% of the dialogue is straight out of the book.
Oh, yeah. Because like I was saying, I read like the first 3 chapters again. And then I'm like, okay, well, hoping to jog my memory enough so when I watched the movie, I wouldn't be like, oh, yeah. And it did. Yeah. And then when I hit play, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, this is exactly verbatim what I just read. And they would skip a couple paragraphs, but it's the same thing. I'm like, wow. Yeah. I could say if you didn't want to read the book, you could watch the movie in lieu of the book. It's that close.
Absolutely. Again, they cut out some of the sex scenes, but everything else is the same. At the very end of the book or the movie, when Ivy is in bed with Ren and, after she was attacked by the prince, she's supposed to be unconscious for like 4 days and in the hospital and then she goes home. But in the movie, like she's just home and in bed for 4 days. Yeah. So that was like the only obvious thing that they cut out to me besides the sex, obviously. But yeah, no, it's basically verbatim the book.
I felt like that fight was weaker too. Like on screen, it was weaker.
It was so bad on screen.
Yeah, because I just remember her getting the beat, like like she was beat up really bad in the book, if I remember correctly.
She was thrown into walls and, beaten horribly and basically dead. But then he did heal her a bit, and she was still unconscious for 4 days in the hospital. There was the scene where she got hit by the car. And in the movie, the car moves 2 whole inches before it hits her. But in the book, it's screaming down the alleyway at like 60 miles an hour. And this time it like moved 2 inches. And I'm just like, I can't.
Look, speaking of that, all the fighting scenes were bad in the movie. So, like, there's this one scene when they're outside the club, right? Before they go into the Fae Club, where the humans and the Fae are mixing. And they're standing there, and Ivy's kind of standing there waiting to fight, even though she's not supposed to be fighting. And the one guy, I swear, this is like stunt time. Like, this guy wants to just show how he can kick his leg and flip around. I'm like, you're not even close to her at all. Like, you're just doing
like
these
10
things.
feet
Like,
away from them.
it looked crazy. I'm like, this is an exhibition or something. You're just showing your skills. It's not a fight.
Jumping around.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Oh my gosh. I laughed.
Speaking of the Fae, when the first Fae guy showed up with his horrible blonde ass wig, I had to pause the movie and scream because that wig is so bad. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, I kept doing that all movie. Tink, when I saw him for the first time, I just screamed.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So Tink, oh my God. So the graphics around Tink are the worst. Like, the little bit of CG work they did was freaking horrible. And I'm like,
so Tink is this little brownie who's supposed to be the size of a Barbie doll, but he's a man who came from the other world, and Ivy just decided to take care of him, even though that goes against everything she believes in. And she never told anybody about him. And the movie version is fucking atrocious.
Like, Tink, by the way, also has an Amazon addiction, which is hilarious.
Oh, that pissed me off, or not pissed me off, that annoyed the fuck out of me in the book. Every 2 goddamn seconds, they were making references to something. He's obsessed with Harry Potter, so he was constantly watching Harry Potter. He loved Twilight, so they would watch all of the Twilight movies together. She would be reading books, by like Jay Crownover, who's best friends with Jennifer Armentrout. Like, they were just referencing everything every 2 seconds. And I'm glad they cut it out of the movie because, they can't pay Harry Potter fees. So at least they kept Amazon Prime, but yeah.
But they covered the boxes, though. They covered, so there was no Amazon. But we knew it was Amazon. They were talking about
Amazon. They kept saying Amazon.
Yeah, I wonder if they got a little bit of kickback from Amazon to keep mentioning them like that.
Probably. I wondered if she was getting paid from Harry Potter or Twilight to mention all that stuff in the book.
Yeah,
like, literally, every page they were referencing something. And I was like, can you not? Dear God, can you not?
It was pretty freaking annoying. And so especially at the beginning of this movie, every scene I was chuckling. Every scene I was laughing. Now, going into this, like, I'm not familiar with passion flicks, but after I heard it explained, it reminded me, I expected a mix of Lifetime. Now, we know Lifetime status type of movie. This had Lifetime written all over it. Lifetime mixed with, like, Skinamax Light. Y'all remember Skinamax.
Yeah.
Okay, so I expected that, like, really heavy on the cheese, low production value, and I was right on all aspects, except I was shocked when I saw that this thing had a rated R rating. I'm like, for what? I'm like, the sex was, okay. The couple of scenes we got, it was closed door. There was one scene where you could insinuate what was going on by her making these noises and grasping the covers.
The pillow.
Yeah, like,
your face. You don't see anything below the neck. Like,
no, but you can insinuate, but that's like, come on, is that R? They had a couple of curse words, but I don't think it wasn't it wasn't a lot of cursing, and I don't even remember the F-bomb. And I know that is a rule. They can only say so many fucks, right? And I don't think I heard any. I heard a couple of other curse words, but not R-rated. So I'm like, well, what's making this R-rated?
Maybe passion flick is different than,
I don't know. It seems like it was Lifetime movie material. Like, I could have watched this on Lifetime on a Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I was wanting more with the R rating. I thought it would be more blood, more violence, more, because those fights, like we said, the fights in the book were legit. These fights were weak. The sex was weak compared to the book.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was, all of the things that they would have had to spend more time and money on were watered down.
Mm-hmm. Including his tattoos, which looked like a toddler drew them on with a Sharpie.
They had, like, somebody sat up there and, like, pasted them on him every morning. And they didn't have, like, the top-notch makeup person. Mm-mm. They had his cousin do it or some shit.
If you're watching us on Patreon right now, you can see on either side of us the screen. And there's a picture of him, and you just see these 2 black marks on his neck. And if you agree with me, it looks like a fucking Sharpie on his neck. Like, that's not a tattoo. That is a Sharpie mark.
It looks like a Sharpie mark. That's for sure. The whole thing looked bad. I'm trying to see if I can find any close-ups of those tattoos. No.
I took a picture of it on my phone, so I can text that to you.
Oh.
You can post it on social media. Because I couldn't not. I was screaming and just like, I was like, I have to take a picture of this because it's so bad.
And it's funny, when he took his shirt off and Ivy's like running her hands over him so gingerly, I'm like, she's trying not to mess up that tattoo makeup. Because she's barely scraping him. She's barely scraping him with her fingers. I'm like, oh, that's because it's loose makeup that she don't want coming off on her hands. That's what that is. Oh my God. So,
and his fake deep voice was so bad. It's so bad.
So I kind of remember him being a little possessive in the book. But but that one scene where he's like basically telling her, "You're mine, I don't care." I'm like, oh my God, roll my eyes. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Verbatim from the book. Yep.
I just can't. And then he comes to her house and like bangs down the door, basically. Like, you're gonna tell me what's wrong. I'm like, oh my God. This is so heavy-handed, dude. It's so heavy-handed.
So bad. Yeah. At least in the book, it was kind of cute. Like, he kind of came off as cute and funny, and I could almost laugh at him. Like, he was humorous, not creepy. In the movie, it was very creepy. Like, zero humor. Zero.
And he's like, he says to her, I can't, if you want me to leave, I'll leave, but I'm not going to leave without a fight or something, he says. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then she's like, okay. Yeah, she's like, okay, come in. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, there was a lot more internal angst in the book right there. But yeah, that's basically what happened with the dialogue.
Yeah, and then she just spills her guts to him. And of course, they proceed to have sex and all that fun stuff. But the funniest part was like the next morning, that scene where Ren meets Tink for the first time. He's like butt naked in the kitchen.
Holding a knife to this little Barbie doll sized man on the kitchen counter.
It's fucking hilarious. I just laughed. Okay, so yes. I know it wasn't supposed to be funny, but I thought it was funny. Or maybe it was supposed to be funny.
I think it was supposed to be funny. Yeah, I was laughing my ass off. Again, verbatim in the book. Like, he's butt-ass naked, holding a knife to Tink. Tink is like, I'm seeing his dong.
It's hilarious. And, I guess that's something else, Armentrout does well. It's the humor, right? Like, it's so tongue-in-cheek. It's so ridiculous. It's freaking funny.
Over the top.
Yeah.
Absolute ridiculous shit. Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's like, oh my God. So those scenes were funny to me. And I'm like, oh, wait, when Ren walked back into the bedroom, we got 2 seconds of butt cheek. 2 seconds of butt cheek.
Butt cheek? Maybe that's why it's rated R, because there's a whole lot of butt cheek right there.
Like, for 2, blink and you would miss it. Blink and you would miss it. I mean, I've seen stuff on HBO that's more, come on.
And it's not rated R. It's PG-13.
Like in this show, they did not. Okay, so usually when people are having that love scene, making love scene,
Mhm.
you see some movement, you see some There was nothing. Like
No movement.
you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. Oh,
Oh my god.
so I'm like, why wasn't this PG for 13 for real? It should have been. It should have
I
been.
don't know. I really don't know.
Oh my god, it was
Could have
hilarious.
been PG. Like it was. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Freaking funny. So hilarious. And it's funny, I didn't recognize any of these actors. I've never seen any of them before.
Not a single one.
They're going to be, if they ever become famous from something else, this is going to be that movie that is low, far down on that IMDb page, way at the bottom.
And they hope and pray that nobody ever asks them about it.
It gets buried.
Yes.
Oh my god. So, am I the only one that found the Fae like ugly in this movie? Like all the Fae were ugly.
They were disgustingly gross. That fucking blonde wig. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it. Just Google it and prepare to laugh your ass off, because it's like the cheesiest Lord of the Rings cosplay ever. And it just does not work. That blonde wig is so fake.
Yeah, and they had something funky going on with their skin. Like they had like a blue kind of hue moving over it, like a silvery blue kind of thing going on.
We weren't supposed to see them in their pretty forms, but no, they were ugly. And then when the prince came out, he was butt-ass ugly.
Yeah, I'm like, that's the prince? He is. He's supposed to be fine. And I'm like,
yeah, no, he's butt-ass ugly. As a human, if I saw you, I'd run away.
Oh God. You are so right though. I'm like, that's the prince.
Yeah, no, these fae that are supposed to be like, the end all be all most beautiful creatures ever. No.
So like, okay, future spoiler alert. Like the prince is supposed to have like some competition for Ren. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to, not in the love triangle way, but he's super hot. He's, you know what I'm saying? He's supposed to be able to stand up to Ren as far as visuals and sexiness factor. It doesn't at all in this movie.
I mean, Ren doesn't stand up at all either, but I'll at least not run away from him.
And okay, so I thought I was the only person that might, I knew I wasn't gonna, because Ren in the face is not cute. He's not cute in the face. Sorry, actor guy. I'm sorry. I don't mean to insult you. But when I picture Ren, okay, so I'm on Google right now, and I see someone's pics for their version of Ivy and Ren. And this production could never afford these people. But
yeah,
I agree with the picks. They picked Theo James. He's fucking hot. He's hot. He's Ren. Show me that. He's Ren. And we know he pulls off a lot of tattoos very well, because we saw a big ass one on him in Divergent and it looked good.
Yes.
And they picked Lily. I think her name is Lily, the redhead lady. Lily
James?
She was just in this Paris thing that everyone had a conniption about on Netflix. She was in Mortal Instruments. Did you watch Mortal Instruments on Netflix?
Didn't.
Oh, the redhead with, what is her name? I'm going to click on it and see if it gives me her name.
Yeah.
Nope, it's just an image. Let me show you the image. I'm going to share. Sorry, you guys can't see it if you're not on. Yeah, Lily Collins. They picked her. She is... I feel like they match closer than that people, but they did what they could do, I guess. You know what I mean? Because they could not
budget. Yeah.
Yes, they could not afford these two people. That's for sure. They mentioned
Theo James, but no, they could not get him.
No, so I'm just going to show it quick. Here you go. So you guys that are on Patreon, you can see.
Yeah, I can see that much better than who we got.
So who we got was, Okay, here's the woman. What's this woman's name? Let me go back and get her name because I don't know what her name is. Anna Mashi, Maiche, Anna Mashi, I guess.
Don't know him.
I don't know her from anywhere.
Nope.
But she's not a bad Ivy. She works.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly her hair is not red, that's dye. Her hair is, something else, which is fine, And here's the Ren guy, Liam Hall as Ren. And his face is just too angular, too something.
Foxy with really tiny eyes and a big nose. Big forehead. I don't know.
Yes, it's not cute. And Tink, okay, so Andrew Rogers, I feel like they played him on this show. Like, didn't they dye his hair blonde or something?
Oh, yeah, no, he was like bleach blonde.
He looks a lot better with brown hair. And I feel like he looks so ridiculous. Now look at the photo. You guys can't see this photo, but there's a photo of him without a shirt on in this collage I'm showing. This collage can be found on Jennifer L. Armentrout's website. She had these made. But I'm gonna give you a little. Do you mind a slight spoiler? I don't know if you're gonna continue on or not.
Spoil away. Yeah.
In the future books, Tink becomes real sized.
Oh.
He becomes real sized. And spoiler alert. So if they do more movies, they're going to be taking advantage of full-sized Andrew Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's cute. Him as this little 6-inch Barbie thing, not cute at all. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, they have him looking crazy in these Barbie clothes. He's living in the Barbie house in the armoire.
And he's, fucking those little troll doll things. Like, no.
Oh, God. Like, and then later, thinking back, I'm like, well, why didn't you just make yourself man-sized and go out and get some and then come back and be the brownie?
Maybe he did while she was out working.
Man, I don't know. If he did, it didn't come up in the books that I remember because he was just man-sized at a certain point. But I don't want to tell you the stuff around that because it was really spoilery. But
I mean, you can tell me after because I'm not going to read the rest of these books.
And it's funny because my book club loved this trilogy. Mm-hmm. Usually book club reads one and done. Book club kept picking these books. When they came out, they went back to them. Like, hey, that next book came out. Should we read it? Let's read it. Book club went back to it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So let's take another look at the characters again. See, they don't look bad there. But I don't know. For some reason, Ren looked real bad in these movies.
He just looked so bad.
Extra broody.
And he tried to have that deep voice and it failed. And he wasn't humorous the way he was in the book. He was just creepy and possessive and nasty and just no. It was the most, y'all. It was the most. And it was the most. The music wasn't that good. It was like the soundtrack. They didn't have money for a good soundtrack. It was just... I didn't recognize any of the songs.
No.
I think one of the lyrics was I'm stuck in the shower.
Oh my God.
I was like, is that what she's saying? Is that what I'm hearing? I'm stuck in the shower?
It sounded like it. And look, the craziest part of all of this, y'all, is it was an hour and 54 minutes. It was an hour and 54 minutes. I'm like, this is a long movie.
Long ass movie. Yes. Yes. It was bad.
I don't know. But I feel like if you're drinking on a Saturday, you have nothing else to do. You
don't start a drinking game or you will die.
You will die.
Get one bottle of wine and slowly drink that over 2 hours while also eating bread to make sure you don't die.
Right. And, I would not recommend paying for Passion Flix for this, but I hear through the grapevine that Passion Flix has several book-to-movie adaptations.
I mean, that's what they're for. I know they have some by Brenda Jackson and Jill Shalvis and several others.
I don't think I'll be reading those books to watch passion flicks, but for the fun of it, I may watch one or two more movies and talk about it on Instagram or something before the date that I have to cancel it because I am not paying for it. No. So yeah, do you have anything else to say? Is there more to talk about?
Well, we kind of already spoiled this at the beginning with Val being, the bad guy at the very end. Yeah. But did you see that coming? Either the first time you read the book or
the first time, I don't think, from what I remember from having discussions about it at book club, I wasn't surprised. But it wasn't written on the wall, but I wasn't surprised at all. Were you surprised in the book?
I was suspicious, just because, even in the movie, she's like, oh, I have this hot date. Oh, I met this awesome guy. And then she's like showing up with a black eye and, being very circumspect. So I'm like, yeah, no, you're being shady as fuck right now. But Ivy's too blinded by her friendship and, pointing fingers at everybody else.
Yeah, in hindsight, that character is very guilty the whole book through and the whole movie through. She's like, oh, when something happens, I got to take this phone call or I got to go. Yeah. Tell me all your secrets. I can keep a secret. She's like in the business. And this guy, she's got the bruise. It's kind of obvious something funky is going on, but you don't know what.
No. Yeah. And then Ivy being the halfling at the very end of the story, not surprising.
Very predictable. I mean, because they kept saying, so even in the book, they were like, the halflings are adopted. They are adopted. She's like, she literally says, I was adopted. Literally.
And I've never broken a bone. He's like, you're just lucky. And I'm like, are you just lucky when you're fighting Fae every single night and never broken a bone?
Yeah. And then, of course, the whole, Tink knowing she was halfling the whole time. Yeah. So, well, I guess technically, if they thought that all the gates were closed, he didn't have to worry about it. It was a non-starter. Non-issue. Yeah. So, but you were wrong.
Now it's an issue. And now Red has to kill her.
Yes. If you can assume what's going to happen when Ren finds out, because this did say to be continued. So they may make more movies. They may make more. It said to be continued. But that doesn't mean they're going to get the green light. They intend to make more movies. We'll say that.
Yes.
But what happens? It's like that whole thing with the Iron Fae. I'm sorry. It's the whole freaking thing. You're in the summer court. I can't teach you. We can't be together. I'm like, blood, please. It's written all over these pages what's really going to happen. Let's not get it twisted. Just like with Ren, I have to kill you. It's my duty. Boy, please. You're not going to kill anybody. Come on. If you know these kind of stories, he's going to protect her.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
And if the only thing that she needs to, not do is have a baby, then just, take out her ovaries.
Oh my gosh.
Be possible.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Yeah. Lord have mercy. Oh my God. So, but if you happen to have passion flicks and it's your thing, definitely check it out since you have access to it anyway. Check it out.
Yeah. Get a 7-day free trial through Amazon Prime.
Yeah. If we've tempted you to watch this, then let me know if I've tempted you to watch this. Yes. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna be real honest. I had a great time watching it because I was laughing so fucking hard.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God. And every time like a sex scene came, I was like, is this it? Are we going to get to business? And I'm like, oh, that's it.
No, we're going to see nothing.
I was waiting on Skinamax to happen and it didn't happen.
Nothing going on.
Even their kissing was like PG kissing, like no tongue action at all. They were just PG kissing.
It was Disney kisses.
Disney kisses. Passionate Disney kisses. I don't know. Like, ugh.
It's bad.
And the funny thing is, yesterday we were going to watch the new movie that came out on Prime Video. And Kevin's
Which movie?
scrolling the Tomorrow War, whatever, about the war in the future. So he's scrolling through Amazon and he's like, where do I find the channels again? Because I had Paramount Plus on there for a free trial. I'm like, he gonna see Passion Flicks sitting right there. I'm like, is he gonna ask me about Passion Flicks? He just kept going. He didn't even mention it. I'm like, you're not gonna ask me what Passion Flicks is? It sounds like soft porn, right? Like, what is this?
It really does.
He'd have asked me. He's like, okay. I'm like, okay. Whatever. I'm not gonna mention it. You're not gonna say nothing. I guess it's not there.
We're just gonna walk away.
But I will watch a couple more movies. I'm gonna get my free trials worth. I'm gonna watch at least one or two more and have a fun time laughing and talking shit. Yes. I'm sure that's what's gonna happen. So if you follow me on Instagram, you may be, or well, by the time I'm gonna post this week. No, it's gonna be live. You guys, if you're listening to this, you could probably catch some of those reels.
Yes. Awesome.
So yeah. I don't know. All right, what about you, Casey? Are you done? Have you already canceled it, or are you going to watch a couple more just for shits and giggles?
I was thinking about canceling it today just to like make sure I don't pay for it, but I might scroll through and see what's up. Maybe I'll recognize a book and watch the movie or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, just see what else is in there. Yeah. I never heard of this before. I'd never heard of Passion Flicks before.
I've heard of it. Like, it's been around for a few years now, but I've never watched anything on it.
Oh my God. No, that girl's YouTube video. I'm like, what is Passion Flicks? I had to Google it. I'm like, what is that? Okay, well, thanks for hanging out with us today. I hope you enjoyed our conversation of Wicked, book and movie.
Book and movie. And if you read or watch, please tell us what you think.
Yeah.
We want to know.
There are some more book to movie adaptations you would like to hear us talk about.
Yes.
Leave a recommendation. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram. Find me in Shelf Addiction Official on Facebook. Recommend it. And maybe we'll do it. No promises, but we'll at least investigate.
And we'll tell you how we really feel about it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it. And if you are listening to the sound of my voice right now, I really appreciate you for listening to the entire episode. Sometimes they're long, but it's worth it.
It's worth it. We're worth it.
It's worth it. And again, if you want to check out the visuals, some of the stuff I showed, it's available now on Patreon. So head on over and sign up. And until next time, happy reading, guys. Take care of yourselves.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.